Do audiobooks count as reading? In other words, does listening to audiobooks count as reading? Is it the same thing as reading? Now, I would imagine that there have been all sorts of arguments with regards to this topic on both sides, right? I haven't necessarily actively gone out there to listen to some of the arguments or search them, but this was something that crossed my mind as a result of, a situation with myself, right? As I try to deliberately take action in improving myself, right? I like to also go over personal development on this channel, besides the fact, like online business and all that type of stuff, which is what I typically talk about. Speaking of which, if you would like to learn how to get started, with an online business, selling digital products that you create yourself, or as an affiliate promoting other people's products, you can check out the first link in the description below this video. It'll show you how to get started. But anyway, back on topic here with the whole idea of listening to audiobooks in place of reading. There's a book, right? This is kind of answers it for me in a sense, right? Like just innately, like just listening to my gut and all that type of stuff. This book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, okay? This is a book essentially that it's one of the books that I've been reading, speaking of personal development and trying, financial literacy is one of the things that I've actually tasked myself with doing, trying to improve, right? And this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is a book that I had read. I actually listened to the audiobook, okay? And for some odd reason, right, because this Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a book that gets brought up so much, right, for positive or negative reasons, whatever the case may be. Some people think it's the most overrated book, financial, personal finance book. Others people think that it's great. It was transformative for them, whatever the case may be. That's besides the point. But I had listened to the audiobook, and for some odd reason, every time people ask, or if I hear people talking about, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, whether or not they read it, I throw the question back on myself, or if I get asked if I had read it, I can't explain it, but I felt like a fraud saying that I've read it. Now, I don't know. I would love to know what your opinions are on this when it comes to like audiobooks. Whether just listening to the audiobook counts as actually reading the book, right? But and maybe because personally this is something that I have wanted to get better, do better with, right? Like read more. This is something that I've been saying for the longest time that I'm going to start doing, that I need to do, and I just don't do it. Okay. So, this is like, someone would ask me, have you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And, if I said yes, I felt like a fraud saying yes, because I felt like I hadn't actually read it, right? I listened to the audiobook, and I felt so much like a fraud that I actually went out, like I mentioned, I actually went out and purchased the book so that I could actually read it. I shouldn't even say again, but so I can actually read it, right? It's been a while since I heard the audiobook, so I was like, well, it wouldn't hurt to go through the book again where I'm actually reading it this time. At the end of the day, I mean, you get the information either way, right? If you're listening to the audiobook, you're still getting the same information that you would get if you read the book. So, the argument can be made that whether you read it or you listen to it, at the end of the day, you're still getting the same information. So, like, what difference does it really make, right? I don't know. I don't know I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. You listen to the audiobook, maybe there's certain things that you hear, and the way it's said, the meaning may come across a different way versus you reading it yourself and you interpreting it in your own way, completely different from how it would have come across if you heard it on the audiobook. And so maybe the information might not necessarily be picked up the same way. I really can't comment on that. I'm not an expert in, I'm no expert in that area to even, I don't know what to say about that. But anyway, all I'm simply getting at is that and again, maybe this is a personal thing, just perhaps because I've been terrible. I've been horrible when it comes to reading, right? And as much as I'll always tell, like my little nephews or younger people that they should read, they should read, they should read. I got that message over and over and over when I was younger, and I would always avoid it. So I can, when I tell, like the younger ones that, oh, you need to get to reading, and they're all stubborn about it and not wanting to do it. I can relate because I was exactly that person, right? My parents would tell me, you need to read, you need to read, you need to read. Like, how many books have you read? Have you read anything this, and sometimes I'd even, go for, like, as a kid, right? Like, just lie about how much I've actually read when I hadn't, that type of stuff is just, kid stuff, right? It's things that we do, things that we've done, or even as adults, right? Things that, we have plenty of things that we've done that we're not necessarily proud of, but that's just me. So, one of the things, one of the things that I set out to do especially in 2025, and Lord knows I'll be lying if I said I didn't set out to do that in 2024 as well. I did, but I just never did it. I don't know what it is. If it's a discipline thing as well, like being able to make time. If something is important enough to, we always talk about, oh, we don't have time for this, or you don't have time for that. You don't have time. Oh, you're too busy doing this. I've always been a proponent of the fact that if something is important enough to you, you will make time for it. Okay. So by that logic, clearly, in as much as I say that, reading is important to me and I think I should be reading and all that, clearly it's not important enough, right? It hasn't been important enough. And so this year, that's just one of the things that I'm looking to absolutely change no matter what. Okay. Maybe putting it here on camera and putting it out there might be something to hold me accountable. If that helps, I don't know. Like, I know studies have been done to prove or disprove that theory. But anyway, I would love to know what your thoughts are in the comments with regards to reading. Like, do audiobooks count as reading? Or I guess I should be saying, does listening to audiobooks count as reading? Is listening to audiobooks the same as actually reading? Like, if you listen to an audiobook, can you go and say, I've read that book? I would say you've gathered the information from that book. I don't know if I would say I've actually read it, and maybe that's just my I don't want to, maybe an insecurity, not necessarily an insecurity, but that's just me feeling guilty about the fact that I've not done something that I've set out to do, that I've been wanting to do, or that I've been saying I need to do and I'm going to do, but I just haven't done. So, that's my own personal development task there for the year. And, for someone who doesn't read, like at the very, people who are voracious readers, they'll probably hear this and say, like, oh, that's nothing, right? If I said I wanted to, give myself the task of reading at least one book a month, right? How much further could I get knowledge wise and all that type of stuff, right? That's why I said people who are voracious readers, they'll probably listen to that and laugh, right? But hey, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere. If you, I'm not going to set any kind of like impossible goal or task for myself that I just know that I'm not going to complete. So baby steps is the way to go, and I'll take it from there. What is this, like that 75 hard challenge or whatever the case may be? Might be some thing they said, read 10 pages a day. That would be a decent goal for me. To make sure that, at least to start out, right? Make sure I read at least 10 pages a day, and take it from there. As a matter of fact, I think I probably should. This is probably the only way. I shouldn't say the only way, but this would be a good way to get me to basically to hold myself accountable, right? To basically discuss everything that I learned from the book, or any given chapter, any given time that I actually do it and actually get through the book. So maybe I should do that. I probably should do that. For those of you who haven't read this or haven't heard about it, obviously, if you haven't, and you would like to check it out, Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's going to be the second link in the description below this video. I'll have a link to it. It'll be a place where you can get it on Amazon. Full disclosure, that is my affiliate link, so at no additional cost to you, I will get a fraction, a tiny little commission if you do decide to purchase the book using my link in the description below. And for that, of course, I would thank you. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions that could help me, make sure that, with any reading tips and all that type of stuff, let me know in the comments. I'll be glad to know. Please let me know your opinion. Does listening to audiobooks count as reading? All right. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch, and I will catch you in my next video. Ciao.